Hey there, Corporate Misfits. Brittany Darrington here, and welcome to episode 20 of the Corporate Misfit podcast. I am so excited about today's Friday feature because we are featuring one of our very own Corporate Misfit members, Tiffanie Tribble. Tiffanie is an Army veteran turned fashionpreneur. Her company, Wear, curates versatile, flattering, and fashionable workwear that works from the boardroom to happy hour. Tiffanie really wanted to gear this towards corporate babes and side hustlers. Wear really prides itself on offering sophisticated, smart, and multitasking pieces that empower modern working women to do what they love while wearing what they love whenever, wherever. Now, let's go ahead and dive into how Tiffanie got started with her business.
You're listening to the Corporate Misfit podcast with Brittany Darrington, where female entrepreneurs can get powerful tips and advice on how to start, launch, and grow their business.
Tiffanie, thank you so much for joining me on the Corporate Misfit podcast. I am so excited for our listeners to hear how you went from idea to actually starting your business. I know currently this is still a side hustle for you and you're still working full time, but ultimately you are looking to turn this into your full-time business. And there were several steps you had to take. Tiffanie, can you give us an overview about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that is quite a long story. But I'm going to try and make it brief. Prior to opening my business, I was working in compliance. I managed compliance for a financial services firm during like the fallout of the financial crisis. And so all of these enforcement agencies were coming about and all of these laws were coming about. It was a very like stressful time to be in that kind of work. Um, and Thank God they let me go, and that was like the biggest blessing ever because it was not only was it stressful, but I really didn't enjoy it. But I feel like I was one of those people who felt like really really trapped by all the responsibilities that I had. I had a mortgage and I had a car and I had all of these things that I felt like if I left my job, I wouldn't be able to uh, you know continue to have those things. And so I was just strapped in that job. Um, but they let me go. And that was the moment at which I felt, at the advanced, age of my mid 30s, I won't say my exact age, that's probably the last best time for me to reinvent myself. Um, and I had always wanted to work in fashion. I just didn't know in what capacity. And so I thought, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to, explore this interest of mine and I'm going to see it out.
Mhm.
And what was born from that was when and where.
I love that. And I love actually what you just said. You felt trapped in this job. You had a mortgage, you had things to take care of. And so you stayed at a place that you didn't really care for or love per se, but you stayed there because of all the other obligations that you had in life, which I find that so many entrepreneurs do that. A lot of people, not entrepreneurs, I'm sorry, employees actually stay where they're at and they want to start that business. They want to go into working for themselves or starting a side hustle, but they're so afraid of, okay, if I do pursue that, what about my mortgage? What about all the things that could possibly go wrong if I do pursue this? So when you got laid off and you decided to go back to get your education and pursue fashion, what were some of the thoughts going through your head?
Yes. So I thought, this is crazy. Because what I quickly discovered when I got to school was that everybody there was like 18 to say 22 years old. And so I immediately felt old, dusty, and outdated. So I'm like, what do I know about, fashion today? Because, fashion is all about the new and the now. And certainly, my sense of style was developed probably, back when I was that age. And it feels like you kind of carry a part of that with you throughout your life. Whatever sense of style you develop in your seminal years, uh, it doesn't necessarily kind of go away. You just kind of keep refining it.
Mhm.
And so I was scared of that. I was also terrified that I just didn't know enough. So I had thought and I don't know why, that school was going to teach me everything that I needed to know. But school
Mm.
teaches you so very little about how to actually run your own business.
Wow, that is so true. I mean, amen to all of that because one, I have found that a lot of entrepreneurial majors or business majors or marketing majors, they're like, well, I majored in this at this school. And I have found that until they go into the real world of entrepreneurship, that school does not prepare you for some of the ups and downs of what entrepreneurship brings. And they also don't prepare you to wear so many hats, especially in the beginning, because they kind of show you the beautiful picture of like, make your business plan and then everything will go as planned and everything will be perfect. And it's completely opposite. So I'm really glad that you shared that because so many people think that they need to go and get so much additional education just to get started, when ultimately, if you just get started, you might find that, yeah, the education can help you in some areas, but ultimately just getting started will help you get a lot further along than just waiting until you have all of these degrees or education or titles behind your name to get started.
I completely agree. I pretty much Google everything I know or need to know.
Hmm.
So I could have saved myself quite a bit of money in student loans, had I just taken the leap.
I know I have a master's in Google. Actually, I would call it a PhD in Google because I am that person. I go onto the internet. I'm like, how do you do this? And boom, you have 55,000 different answers and I can try to weed through and see which one's the best. Okay, so you're in school. You are going to school with several 18 to 21 year olds. And how did you decide to go into doing what it is that you do today?
So I will give my school this credit. Um, they require in your senior year that you do an internship um, for grade. And at the time, I had been thinking, okay, what I want to do when I leave is to be a corporate buyer in the women's shoe department for Nordstrom. Um, because, I had come up in the corporate world. And so that's, sort of what my thinking was, go back to corporate because I've got a kid and I've got to, get another mortgage and all this
Hmm.
stuff. Um, but I interned for an online boutique here in Houston called Lily's Closet. And, I go in and I was thinking, okay, for the internship, I want to work in a somewhat small operation because at that, I'll be able to see a lot of different things and wear a whole bunch of different hats and kind of get my hands dirty, which is something I really enjoy doing. Um, and that was my only intention, was just to get this grade and to get out and then to go on to Nordstrom. However, um, while I was there, what I saw was that, there was a really small team, and the operation was really kind of simplistic. At least it was simpler than what I thought, Nordstrom might be doing. And yet, they have such a large and engaged presence in Houston and beyond. And this is like $1 million company um, that's being run by like three people. So, while I was there, I was sitting there thinking, why would I want to, spend another 10 years or so trying to work my way up another corporate ladder when I could, you know, uh, I could be at the top of that ladder tomorrow and I can start my own thing and run it my way and really serve the people that I think need to be served, as opposed to, running someone else's show.
Yes, that is so true. Most people think that in order for them to reach their level of success, they have to work with 1,000 plus people and work their way up the ladder. But like you said, I mean, being able to work with a company, whether it's a company of one or a company of five, working with that small and mighty team allows you to really be able to dabble in so many different things. And ultimately, too, you can still make money even though you have a small team. You don't have to have a team of 1,000 just to grow a company past seven figures. Now, when you decided to start your business, did you make a business plan, or did you make a business strategy to go about getting your business up and going?
Yes, but not really. Uh,
Hmm.
so while in school, I had to put together a business plan for a brick and mortar fashion business. And I did that. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to open up an online store because who wants to be, who has the capital for a brick and mortar location and who shops there anymore? And, um, and I didn't want to be tied to a retail location. I wanted to be able to make money while you sleep and all those other things you hear. And so I thought, well, how different could the business plan really be um, for an online store? And so I didn't really consider or take seriously that it's vastly different and you need an entirely different plan.
You have to go
Um,
about marketing completely different, but it's somewhat parallel in a way, but it's hilarious because
mhm.
it is different. It is, some people think like, okay, I'm just going to get traffic to my store. Well, when you're an online business, you have to get really creative, and you also have to think, how am I going to get traffic to my website versus getting them into the actual physical store? So
Exactly, exactly. Because, with a physical location, it's about location, location, location. And people can just happenstance by your store if you're in the proper location, but no one's going to just happen by your website. So you have to do
no.
a lot of attract marketing that I was not taking into consideration when I initially started.
So, since you've started your business, what has been some marketing tactics that you have applied to help you get that traffic to your online site?
Well, you have to think really strategically about, who your customer is and where they are and what kind of information they're trying to consume where they are. And so I have been using various social media platforms, the standards such as Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and just trying to put out engaging material and not the same material that you would across all of the various platforms. So I have to think, okay, if I'm on Instagram, I'm trying to be immersed in some really beautiful photograph. Whereas if I'm on Facebook, then perhaps I want some more like behind the scenes or something that feels a lot like a community and more familial. If I'm on Pinterest, then I'm probably trying to get some information about something. Um, so just trying to understand, put on the user's mind again and trying to understand who's where for what purpose and uh, put out content that matches those purposes. I've also, had to go to events in real life because that still happens, and that's actually been the best attract marketing that I could do is just actually getting out there and having a touch base with my customers and really understand, like putting the product in their hand and getting real feedback. And then I can engage in conversation with them, do little quick informal surveys, like figuring out what kind of industries they're in, what it is that they like to wear, what kind of fabrics, things of that nature that I wouldn't necessarily be able to gather really quickly or without giving some sort of incentive to people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know that you are working full time while
Mhm.
you're running your online business. And I'm just listening to you share all of this information. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you managing working full time and also running your online business? Because there's a lot of people who are looking to start their business, and it's going to have to be a side hustle or a side project until they can obviously grow that to where they can cover their bills and live off of their business.
Okay. Well, perhaps this is not a question for me because I don't think that I manage my time very well at all, actually. Um, I've been given some really fantastic pointers by you as to how to manage my time, which I'm working toward, but it's a work in progress, and I'm learning to give myself grace. But what I am working toward is having time blocks. Just figuring out how much time, or at least in a perfect world, or when I am running my business full time, how much time would I actually want to dedicate to my business? Is that, 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day? Okay. That's the amount of time that I have to dedicate to my business after work. And then figuring out, okay, which task am I going to accomplish? tonight because I can't accomplish everything. I still have to cook dinner and check in with my child and, and do housekeeping and sit down and breathe every once in a while. Um, and so just figuring out, okay, maybe Monday is the day that I take care of any sort of accounting or administrative task. Maybe Tuesday is the day that I respond to emails and things of that nature. Maybe Wednesday is the day that I add new content to my website or create content. So I'm definitely working toward that. In the beginning stages, there's just kind of a lot of extraneous things, just kind of here and there, and so it's difficult to kind of relegate, all of those activities to one day until there are systems and processes in place. But I'm definitely getting closer and closer to managing my time appropriately.
I am so happy that you shared that, Tiffany, because a lot of people go into entrepreneurship and they assume automatically that, okay, this is going to be easy. I'm going to go to work from this time to this time, and I'm going to go home, and then I have all the time in the world to work on this, and everything's going to be perfect. But there is the reality that kicks in where you have a life, where you have friends that you want to go see, you have children, you have to cook dinner, housekeeping in your house, so many different things that you don't sometimes take into consideration when deciding to ultimately start your business while working your 9 to 5. And so being able to manage your time, but being upfront with yourself right away of like, what am I truly capable of doing is so powerful. And I don't think people take the time to plan that out before they go into entrepreneurship, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself with this like crazy to-do list, and you're going to find yourself working all these hours trying to get your business up and going while working your 9 to 5. And ultimately you experience burnout. And a lot of people, I'll tell you, a good chunk of people never make it to being able to work full time for themselves because they're
Mhm.
already burnt out before they could even get there.
Mm. Well, I'm learning that or recognizing that you're just going to have to start paying for convenience. Like I do curbside grocery pickup because I just cannot deal with having to go to the grocery store. I don't have an hour in my day anymore
Mhm.
to do that. And I only buy a tiny little bit of groceries and I get meal kits delivered for the rest of the time. So that I can just pop something in the oven and just be done with it. I have some of my friends taking my daughter to her cheerleading practices and things of that nature. So you have to figure out, okay, where can I can't do everything. I would love to be Martha Stewart and start a business and be a fantastic employee, but I can't. And so, I'm going to have to shell out a couple additional dollars to make my life more convenient.
I love that you just said that. You can't be Martha Stewart, even though she's living the life over there. I don't know what she's doing, but she's having fun. but but it is so true. You have to find ways to be resourceful in your personal life, just like you will in your entrepreneurial life. So being resourceful by finding ways to kind of outsource some of your task and some of the responsibilities that you currently have on your plate can help to open up that time for you to work on your business. And so being resourceful allows you to really, one, find ways to maximize the time that you do have. And then two, it also allows you to start being resourceful even in your entrepreneurial world. Like the information that you're sharing right now, finding ways to, give yourself an extra hour by doing curbside, or find ways to get someone else to drop off your daughter to cheerleading practice, is stuff that you'll do and even in business. Like, I'm going to start finding someone from Fiverr to work on this marketing project because I don't have the time. Okay, so what has been one of the hardest parts of you starting and setting up your business so far?
Ooh, okay. There's been a couple of those things. I would say initially, the hardest thing about setting up the business was making the brand and the company about the customer and not about myself.
Mm, that's good. Let's
So,
unpack that a little bit. So
okay.
you made the brand more about you instead of your customer. So what were you finding when you originally started making the brand more about you in the beginning?
Well, I mean, it was just the kind of letting go of um, what I wanted for the brand. because, I'm starting from some place that I'm passionate or something that I think is missing from the marketplace, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm my target customer for this business that I'm creating, but I'm not the only customer. And so I have to be thinking a little bit broader, about, yes, I may like, let's say, something superficial like this color scheme, but is that what everyone else wants? Yes, I may wear this piece, but does anybody else want this? Because I'm not the one who's going to buy it. So I just needed to let go of, or stop making all of decisions with me at the center, and thinking, and not only just thinking, but actually going out and getting data from people about what they wanted.
Ooh, that's so good because I find sometimes we automatically assume that we know what our customer wants and we know exactly how we're going to grab them and bring them into our community, and boom, we're good. But truth be told, you have to identify your niche. You need to figure out who they are, where they hang out, what they're doing. I mean, I had a whole episode on like, find your ideal niche, your target market that's gonna love you, be with you, and be all about what you're doing. So, what happened once you decided to start going beyond just you and your brand, and you started asking questions and getting feedback from other people who might be your ideal customer?
A couple of things. So, one, I realized that I was completely wrong about a lot of things that I assumed. Um, my customer didn't necessarily work in the industries that I thought that they worked in. They didn't necessarily want to wear the fabrics that I thought they wanted to wear. They wanted various silhouettes. And, I also had to think about, okay, where's my local base? Yes, I'm on the internet, so the world is my customer, but are they really, And so, thinking about, the people closest to me, especially when you're starting out, is your customers are most likely going to come from your own personal network and then their networks. And so, what do those people look like? What are their characteristics? What do they want? And then trying to extrapolate from there. And then I also noticed that, once you involve other people in what you're doing, and it feels like that it's a collaborative effort, that those people become your brand evangelists.
Ooh, that's good. It's so true. You need to know who you're serving, and in order for you to know who you're serving, you have to take that time to do that research and get to know them. So how has that helped your business ultimately, even in sales wise, like in generating revenue?
Well, it's helped because I actually talk to people and they feel free to give me their feedback. So it's one thing for your friends or family and your extended support system to say, like a picture on Instagram or whatnot, but to support you. But do they actually feel comfortable telling you what it is that they like or dislike about what you're doing? Let me know, like, Tiffany, that's not going to work, because this doesn't have enough stretch, for instance. I need X, Y, and Z. I need that feedback because, yes, something can be pretty or Instagrammable or whatnot, but if it's not sellable, then that doesn't help me. And so, actually understanding your market and what they want helps you sell things. Just give them what they want.
Exactly. Oh, this has been such a great conversation. I love talking about, first of all, ideal customers. It's like something I can talk
Mhm.
about all day. What's the one piece of advice that you would give to women who are still working their 9 to 5, but ultimately looking to start their own business, whether it be on the side or full time? What advice would you give to them?
This is probably going to sound cliche, but I would tell them to do it. Just do it. Um, because this venture for me has been so rewarding and so fulfilling beyond any measure that I could have ever anticipated. That, even if, um, I don't go on to become a household name or whatnot, I am so fulfilled now just having done this and being at this point, and just like moving past all of the fears and the challenges and the obstacles just to be at this point, that, no matter what else happens from here on out, I feel like I won.
Oh, I love that. You basically defined your own version of success, which I absolutely love because so many of us define our success if we become this household name, this big brand, but ultimately there's so much work to be proud of that just getting to where you are right now and getting past that startup phase and actually launching the business is so much to be proud of. And I think people forget to celebrate some of their small wins as well, which ultimately helps you get to the big wins. Now, another part about starting a business is that a lot of people assume that you can have all the freedom and all the time in the world to do what it is that you love and all that good stuff. What
You
is
don't.
truth? Truth to that. Why do you ultimately want to go into business for yourself?
Well, because I wanted to be able to define what success looks like for myself also. And then I also wanted to be able to control the work product that I put out. It's difficult when you're working for somebody else to have sort of any kind of control, and then to think that what you do or what you make is limited by what somebody else determines for you. I didn't want to put those kind of limits on myself, and then I also didn't, and not to say that working for somebody else is that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, obviously I work for somebody else right now, and I have people who work with me, and hopefully I will have people working for me in the future. We can't all lead, because then there'd be nobody else
Oh,
to
I
work in
completely
the
agree.
businesses.
I completely agree. I don't think everyone's an entrepreneur. Like I just don't think
No,
everyone's an entrepreneur. I mean, there's some people who are like very entrepreneurial, but that does not mean you need to quit your 9 to 5.
right. It was just calling me. It had always been calling me, and I was running from it my whole life. Like when I was a child, I was always the one with the business. So, or with the little side hustle. Like I would, sell keychains and cookies and candies at school. And I would, do whatever. I would go run and fetch people food from, the local fast food place for a fee, and I would cut yards and I would babysit. And so I always had some sort of side hustle going on. Um, that was just kind of like in my blood. But somewhere along the way, I thought, that's not for me. I thought, okay, the path is, you go to college, you get a corporate job, you stay there and you pray for a severance, or that you pray that you've saved enough money in your 401k to be able to live comfortably. And I kind of lost that. I thought, um, like working in other people's companies, I guess I'd never seen like a small operation. I thought that they had to be these big, robust, complex things. And I couldn't see how I could run something uh myself for myself.
And that's so true. Sometimes you have to go and see in a different version of like ultimately what you thought you wanted. Sometimes you have to go see it in a different version of itself. And like you said, now once you saw the small team really killing it and making things happen in their business, you're like, oh, okay, I can see this. I can see myself doing this too.
Absolutely. I mean, I really owe this path that I'm on to Lily's Closet, because the CEO there is a young Black woman, and I'm a young Black woman, and so just to see her, I could see myself in her, and
Mhm.
I knew that it was possible. And so, I really think that representation of all forms is so important, just to make things relatable.
Oh, I completely agree. Now, what is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur and pursuing your online business?
Yeah, I have creative depths that I had not that had gone untapped for so long, and so I really love. Um, I think this is a lyric from Solange's new album, but seeing things I imagined, just being able to like just come up with the wildest, craziest, wackiest idea in my brain, and then see that come to fruition in physical form is amazing. And I really enjoy seeing people in my clothes. It never ceases to make me cry when I see people living out their lives or having like special moments in the clothes, or telling me they feel confident, or that that they were striding into the interview in something that they bought from my store, because that is and that was the purpose.
and you have someone wearing your stuff, especially when you see it the first time, you're like, oh my gosh, someone's in my outfit. This is so powerful. I can do this. I mean, it just gives you even that confidence too. You're like, okay,
It
people
really
are wearing my clothes.
because it feels like, yeah, like clothing is like, it's an art form. It's just, and it's personal because it's someone's like feeling like they're expressing their own personality through their clothing. And so when you can provide someone something that feels like it's a part of their identity and part of their personality that they then want to, express to other people, you feel like you did something for them.
Absolutely. And like
Hmm.
you even said too, you tap back into your creativity that you might not have touched for a while. So it's great to hear some of the things that entrepreneurship brings to people, whether they have a side business or a full-time business, but to see some of the gifts that entrepreneurship brings is so powerful. And it's amazing to be able to tap into those gifts and be able to share that with the world. And that's exactly what you're doing. Okay, so Tiffanie, now we're going to play a fun game. It's called Lightning Round, where I'm going to ask you a few questions and you're going to respond with a one-word answer. You ready?
I hope so.
Now, who is one of your favorite entrepreneurial role models that inspires you?
Stacy London.
And what is a mantra that you live by within your business or within your personal life?
Mine is, you don't have to be great to get started, but you do have to get started to be great.
Oh, I love that. And so many people need to write that mantra down and stick it onto their mirror or put it in a place where they can see it every day. Well, Tiffanie, thank you so much for joining me on the Corporate Misfit podcast today. Can you share with us how we can stay in contact and in touch with you and also keep up with all of the amazing things that you're doing within your business?
Absolutely. So you can find my business at when and where today.com, and where is spelled WEAR. You can find me on social media. All the handles are when and where today.
Well, thank you again, Tiffanie. And I loved our conversation, and I know our listeners will as well.
If you've enjoyed today's episode of the Corporate Misfit podcast, we invite you to check out the Corporate Misfit Club. The Corporate Misfit Club is the essential resource for female entrepreneurs who are looking to start or grow a business they actually love. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur in your startup phase or simply thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship, we've got your back, girl. With our extensive course library, monthly training, exclusive members-only discount perks, and unlimited tools. We also have a supportive community of women where our members share stories, experiences, their wins, and business tips. The Corporate Misfit Club is the perfect place to be to start, launch, or grow a business. So check it out at corporatemisfitclub.com.